I must say that this is our last session today, and I'll try to captivate your attention by allowing you to delve within yourself a little bit more. What I mean by that is that today I'm going to talk about how, as a sociologist, I look at beliefs as from a critical perspective. And the best way, I think, for you to navigate with me this critical approach is to reflect, first of all, on some of the beliefs that you have or you don't have anymore, or some beliefs that you know people had and they don't have anymore. So what I'm suggesting is that we start by, first of all, practicing a little bit of mindfulness at the end of the day by taking a posture up, taking a deep breath, so that I'm inviting you to connect your mind to your body and to your heart to feel how present you are right now in this room, to yourself, to the process you're going through, listening to me, but at the same time now connecting to my request that you start to think about some beliefs that you have or you had, or your parents, or challenging beliefs that you don't believe, but you know that others do. And to do so, I'd like you to just come more present to yourself for a few seconds by focusing on your breath, breathing in and out. Gather ourselves, our thoughts. And to look at the board here to inspire yourself of a few ideas, a few visual and words that are here. And then in groups of 2, exchange for a few minutes about, and I ask this question about beliefs that you know that don't exist anymore, that have disappeared. I give you an example before you do so. For instance, there are beliefs that are still existing, connotations in our cultures, like I'm wearing white. So in Asia, white is a color of grief, for death. And then in the Western world, it's actually more for weddings and celebrations. And for spiritual people, it's about purity. So, but there are some beliefs, like for instance, in the Middle Ages, we believed that the earth was flat. And, as you know very well, those who were believing that it was not flat were persecuted. They were actually trialed as heretics. And so beliefs fluctuate and they change over time. And I'm asking you in groups of 2 now to take a minute or 2 to reflect upon some beliefs that you thought, were important, but they disappeared somehow. They are now considered as false. So for instance, before we had a presentation about fat. Fat is good for you, now fat is bad for you. Those were beliefs. Those are examples that you might take. Or that colors are naturally occurring versus they are actually reflecting each other or reflecting light during the presentations that we did. So please take a couple of minutes and then think about beliefs, and I will write them down on the board after that in plenary session.
Yeah, well, but it's interesting to me, a lot of these beliefs, even though they were aspects, and now there's people that are trying to bring that back.
And all you have to do is just lecture, and students will pick it up.
It's interesting. There's a cyclical history.
It's 4 minutes in. 4 minutes in. 6.
Counterculture is like this sort of bring that. So it's part of it. But I guess why racism, skin, but of course that still exists.
So there's 1 minute left, and 1 minute left before we share together.
Well, I guess the doctors don't have to wash those hands. So hygiene.
So we, due to the time constraint, I don't have time to walk around the tables and help you move through the process. But in these circumstances, I'm asking you to share with me. So for each group, if there's someone who wants to give me one of the beliefs that, you know, it's no longer in effect. Yes?
We were discussing climate change and burning fossil fuels.
Yes.
Even 10 years ago, there was a very strong movement of people denying it, but it's become more and more acceptable, even on both ends of the political spectrum.
So what was the belief that people had?
That burning fossil fuels humans cannot alter the climate by burning fossil fuels.
Burning, would you say, Usman, burning fossil fuel was okay? Was something, burning fossil fuel was okay. Okay. Next group.
We talked a little bit about medical beliefs in the Middle Ages and how things have changed a lot. So one of the examples we spoke about was either leeches or bloodletting and how that was understood to be a cure for many ailments.
Sorry, what was the cure for ailment?
Bloodletting.
Oh, blood. Yes, yes. So bleeding, right? Bleeding. Bleeding as a cure
So
for
pretty much
illness, right?
for illness.
For illness, okay. In the Middle Ages. Okay. Thank you, Roberta. Usman, when you talked about burning fossil fuel, what time would you give to that? Like the timing, was it 1970s, beginning of 20th century?
I'd say even, beginning of the 20th
Beginning,
century.
okay, 20th century,
Even
let's
say
say.
today.
Okay,
Yeah.
we need to move on. How about you?
I guess maybe,
We mentioned a couple, one was
yeah,
hygiene.
the change
Hygiene?
in hygiene, so at one point, you didn't have to wash your hands, so
Doctors didn't
doctors don't
bother.
have to wash their hands.
So Jessica is saying that hand washing was,
That hygiene standards drastically changed, so that you didn't need to
but what
clean.
belief, the
Um,
belief
That
was?
you didn't need to wash your hands, as a medical professional.
Okay. We did not need to wash hands. Okay. In medical profession. Okay. So, thank you very much. So what I'm trying to convey here, when I look at beliefs like this, and is the idea that beliefs, as you mentioned yourself intuitively, are historically situated. That beliefs in themselves don't explain a truth, but they reflect a certain sensitivity and some values at a time. So burning fossil fuel was okay because probably we didn't know any better, or we had a sense that it would last forever. So there was a lack of knowledge, but at the same time a political and economic necessity that made burning fossil fuel acceptable and desirable. We had also ignorance about the consequences for the environment instead of air pollution and effects on human health. Bleeding as a cure for illness also was a belief that was historically situated in the history of Western medicine. What did we know about illnesses? Not much, and we didn't know a lot either about how fundamental blood is. So if we don't have enough hemoglobin, for instance, definitively we're going to die from anemia. Same thing also with washing hands. It's true that lack of knowledge, or in other words, a certain conception of the medical profession maybe being superior or entitled to a particular way of dealing with patients and being entitled to practicing medicine in a certain way was also incidental to actually not feeling the need to wash hands. What I'm getting with that is that these are clear examples that, again, a belief in itself is a certain idea of value that comes at the confluence between economic, political, social, scientific factors that come together into crystallizing the belief